PincheAls Garage. We're back to another episode, and today's episode is IDF plates with 2 degrees of camber. These are used. I did buy new hardware from IDF directly on their website. This is just going to allow proper 2 degrees of camber. This also drops the rear an extra 23 millimeters. So you get a little bit lower rear and a little bit extra camber. This just allows for the wheels to go lower, and to the camber is actually to compensate for the thickness of the actual plates. So I will have some before and after shots after these are installed. I will give you guys a full walkthrough on how to install these plates. Alright everybody, so once you get your car jacked up, to start doing the IDF plates, remove the wheel. Typical, easy stuff. I supported the rear of the car using a corner of the beam. Since we're only going to do one side at a time, this will just be easy. If you're on bags, I recommend that you air out your strut as much as you can, so you don't have as much tension on the back. It just makes it easier. You can leave the air in there. I am. You don't have to remove a shock or anything like that, so you guys will be good. I'll show you right now what tools you're going to need. But you are going to have to remove the caliper. You're going to have to remove the your disc, your rotor, to reveal the hub, and then you're going to have to pull the bearing out slightly, and I'll show you guys how that works, because I don't want to replace the wheel bearings. Mine are brand new, so I'm going to do it a different way. So I have adapters. Got some really ashy knees as well. So you guys are enjoying that online. That's not good. So the tool you're going to need right now, once you take the wheel off, if you have an impact driver for the screw or the set screw, if it's on there rusted, you're going to need one of these to take out that screw. The hammer and impact driver is good. Once that's out, you're going to need pretty much, let's see, 8mm Allen bit for the caliper. Once you guys break them loose, take them off by hand. If the handbrake's on, make sure you remove the handbrake, because obviously it's going to be holding the rotor. That's how I have it right now, but I'll take it off in just a second. Car's locked. Find the key somewhere around there.
No buttons, okay.
No, car is old school.
Are you going to be okay? Not going to drop?
We'll see. Alright, it's okay.
Alright.
So, once you have, don't lock the door.
How hard was it to put on the airbags?
Pretty easy. once the caliper is removed, it will show you guys how to, it'll reveal pretty much the wheel hub. And that's where it's going to be the tricky part in removing without damaging the wheel bearing. Because I do not want to reinstall wheel bearings. It's a lot of work on these cars. So, we have a wire, so we can just set that on there. So once that's there, if you guys are sketchy about leaving it hang a little bit, get a zip tie it to right here to the side. It's okay, it won't hurt anything. The next thing is you got to remove the ABS sensor, which is in the back. Let's find the right socket for that one. And that's also an Allen bit. And that's a 5mm. Be careful if that thing's kind of rusty on there. Use some WD because they're very soft metal, and you guys will strip it, and then that's going to be the end of that. So make sure you push it all the way through. ABS sensor's out. Now this is where you guys have a couple options on how to do this. If your wheel bearings are intact and they're not wobbly and shaky, then you'll be good. We're going to use an axle socket and remove the axle bolt or spindle nut, because this is actually on a spindle, not an axle. I'll get that right now for you guys. Once you get that, you guys are going to need a hub puller. You guys are going to pull the hub. And I'll show you guys that in a minute, but it's going to pull out slowly. And you're going to pull it out about a 1/4 inch, because any more than that, you'll pretty much destroy the wheel bearing and you got to buy a new wheel bearing. So I'll show you guys how to do that right now. So using a breaker bar and the socket you're going to need in the back is a 1 3/16. Break loose the nut. Now don't take the nut completely off, because this is where the tricky part is. So make sure you have your hub puller and get that in there and set this guy on there nice. Make sure your hub puller isn't bent like mine. If it is, it ain't gonna work. It is, but we don't have much light. So the next thing you guys are gonna need is your hub puller, like I was showing you guys, and pull your socket, your axle nut or the spindle nut out, like I said, about 1/4 inch out, unthreaded out. That way it'll prevent you from pulling this all the way out, guys. So once you guys have that ready, start doing this, and what you're gonna see is the actual hub pulling away from the two bolts that we need in the back. Now the problem is a lot of guys who do this, if you have worn bearings, this is great. You can replace a brand new bearing and you guys are done. Legitimate repair. But we are not replacing bearings, so we want to make sure we pull this completely out. So keep going, and you're going to notice as you keep going, once you can get a wrench in there, the box end of it, don't go any further. That's the whole point, is to try not to get the box end of the wrench. Once you can slide it in, voila.
Oh, nice.
There's one down. This is a little bit harder, everybody, because there's not much space. There you go. But let's see here. There you go. you'll see the back of the wheel bearing coming out right here. That's it. That's all you want. Because like I was telling, that's why we had the spindle nut here to prevent this from backing out too far. And that's how we just got the amount of space we need. There's an expensive tool you guys can get online. It costs money. It's like 30-40 bucks. But like I said, if you're on a budget, this is another way to do it. Just take your precaution. And once you guys can spin these out by hand, you're good. And then what you're going to do is, these bolts are going to go out too far. They're going to hit the back of this. What you're going to need to do is pull the hub further away and spin it again. That way it just makes it look like it's actually not that close to it, and it just pushes it back and gives you the space that you need to unthread it even more. Okay, so now once you get the hub off and you get your IDF plate on, you have to get a brand new hardware set if you're getting used plates, because it's not safe to reuse the old hardware. I only put it on here just to show you, but there's Loctite that has to go with these before you actually put these on all the way. So make sure you guys get Loctite. But for the actual bolt that goes on here, that's an 8mm, and the one that goes for the 3 bolts are on top. That is a 6mm for these guys. Okay. When you guys order your IDF plates or hardware set, they actually give you the specifications before you buy them for the torque specs, so make sure you guys follow those torque specs. I will tell you guys those in a little bit, but I'm just showing you guys how to mount these really quick, and I will show you guys before and after pictures and video. The next hard part here is trying to get these bolts out, because obviously they won't come out because they're stuck in here. So what we have to do is try to like fandangle them out if you guys can. If not, what you're gonna have to do is pull the hub out a little bit more, just to wedge them out. Try not to pull the hub all the way out, guys. Like I told you before, you do not want to end up replacing the wheel bearing. That's another $60 out of your pocket. So take your time on doing this. It's not difficult. Eventually, you'll get enough play to pull the bolts out. Get you enough of an angle. There you go. Jeez, I can't talk right now. Pull this out, and that's it. So make sure you guys don't mess up the alignment on here. I'm gonna show you guys right now really quick how it looks. You'll see, this is why you don't push them all the way out, because there's the bearings right there. See that? So what we don't want to do is so you make the bearings pop out. So not a good thing if that happens. So remember how this goes back on. Mount this back on, torque them down to spec. You have nuts here they provide you with. No more old hardware. These are going to have to Loctite as well. I'll show you guys in just a minute, but I'm just showing you everything that you need to do this, okay guys? Alright, so I finally found a ratchet for my bit. So what you want to do, get a little bit of Loctite on these. They give you just enough to do all your bolts, very minimal. So now this kit, I got it directly from IDF. Cost me $10. It's like $4 to ship. So make sure, like I told you before, never reuse the hardware from an old kit because they lose their tension or their tensile strength once you remove them, because they get a lot of wear, guys. Especially if you daily this, like I will. So what I ended up doing, I ended up mounting the caliper with one bolt so it stops yanking on the brake line. And pretty much I just hand mounted every bolt really quick. A little bit of thread lock right on there goes a long way, guys. And remember, don't go crazy with it because they only give you enough to do everything you got. So be conservative on the Loctite. I'll give you guys the torque specs you need for that, okay? So go into IDF's website and gain the torque specifications for the IDF plates hardware. They're 47 foot-pounds on all 4 bolts, so make sure you guys get that. That's great. Now that I broke my little bit, I need to have a torque gun 47 to get a feel for it. So with those on, you're down to the next part. Make sure you guys do the same thing. Put a little bit of Loctite on the actual studs on here. You install these. And remember, like I said before, remember how these go back on. It'll be a pain if you don't. There's that. And then get your guys' nuts back on there. And remember to always put these in by hand. Never wrench them down, okay guys? Because you don't want to risk cross-threading anything. Alright, once everything's back on by hand, get these down nice and tight. Fortunately, you can't get a torque wrench in here to get these down to 47 foot-pounds. So just do as best you can. Just get them on there nice and snug. Don't over-tighten these. That's how these go bad. These are notorious for failing for over-torquing or over-tightening everything. Once you get these down nice and tight, the wheel bearing, the one that we pulled out, you're going to want to use your axle socket and breaker bar and ease it in. Okay, just tighten this back down, back to spec for the wheel bearing. You're done. Tighten these down first, then the wheel spindle or wheel bearing socket. You're done. Put everything back together. You guys are good. Repeat the process for the other wheel. Easy 1 hour, 2 hour job. Okay, guys? Thanks for watching PincheAl's Garage, and we'll see you guys soon. Okay, so I found a problem. Not a big problem, everybody, but it's a small problem. You have to put the brake on first, the brake caliper to the rotor first before you put the rotor on the hub. If not, you're not going to have enough slack to actually mount the caliper. Just figured that out right now. Just to give you guys a heads up. Here you go. All the IDF plates are done. And these are the after video. You'll notice the wheel is centered now instead of pulling more to the front, which is a common Mark IV issue when you lower a car. The camber, like I said, it's only 2 degrees and it's not crazy like a crazy amount, so I like it. That way we have more tire use. Only downside is that my tires, since I might have to pull the fenders just a little bit so I can tuck the wheel right here, as you can see. But I'm liking this. I'm liking how this sits. So thanks for everybody for watching, and enjoy our end result. No, don't do that. Say hi, Alonso. My nephew, 2 years old, he helped out doing the install. Even though he drove me nuts, he helped out.